Welcome to a finished game of Conquest of Elysium 3. I'm your host, Warlord Mal, and today we are going to be playing the Priest King against two other AIs. They will be on Night difficulty, which should give them like 125% resources to spend. The Priest King is based on Aztec mythology. We hunt for slaves to bolster the strength of our army. We gather sacrifices from towns to summon up demons from the Aztec underworld. Now that I have a decent little slave army, we're going to go out and gather more towns for slaves and sacrifices. Meanwhile, our tribal king will generate more troops back at our main base. As always, deer are the largest threat to any beginning faction. I've explored all the way to the north. Our first major target is a port city that'll nab us quite a few sacrifices and the ability to hunt a lot of slaves there. And so the siege begins. And we replenish our army with a massive amount of slaves from the port city. In this game, it pays to have multiple commanders, so I recruit a Jaguar priest and send him out. Using sacrifices, we use a minor summoning, which can get us anything from beast bats to undead demon women that can assassinate people with life drains. Capturing temples are important because they increase the chances of casters being available to hire each turn. For whatever reason, some spiders want to capture the temple. Die. I decide to leave a platoon of slaves back at the temple, that way no independents such as deers will try to capture it from me again. Our next big target is a city that's pretty well defended with slingers, but I have two decently sized slave armies. Let's nail it. This is a pretty tough fight. The slingers poke holes in our front line. The brigands then finish off anyone who's there, preventing major damage from happening to them. But eventually we do work them down, and once the slingers are in melee, they're finished. Our slave armies continue to grow nicely back home. Up north, our Priest King has left some slaves at a village and at the mine to secure resources. Then we're going to go back home and hunt for slaves again. I buy two tribal kings on our conquered city to start slave hunting and build an army faster for us. With our army stocked, I head back down to the south and the northeast. And we find a big, juicy city full of sacrifices. I'm going to need to bring down another army to help this priest. And it looks like we finally discovered Blue's army. He's a druid, meaning he gets his power from capturing forests. He's much bigger than me. I'm going to try to back off, but hopefully we don't die. He doesn't seem that concerned with me. But that's no reason to tempt fate. I still want to book it out of there. Nice, another city, more in the center of the map here. That's going to make a good base of operations. And then this gore-tide horror shows up. This thing is insane. Its wave of pus pretty much instantly kills 5 units. Luckily I have 200 sacrifices, which allows a major summoning, and we get a Talaluk of the West, a badass spellcaster who throws 2 spells a turn. If this gore-tide horror attacks me first, well then I get first defense attacks, so I think he'll probably run away from us at this point. Slave armies make siege on a town. This is pretty much just a mop-up job. So many slaves, too many targets for them to take down. Our Priest King wants to get in on this action on the north. With our host of demonic Aztec women and a bunch of beasts, we make short work of this city. With another slave army ready to go, I hire a Sun Priest. These are awesome. They have the best offensive spells out of all the priests, plus the Sun Priests start off level 2. Time to go, little buddy. 5 sacrifices. That temple pyramid is awesome. Well, let's kill that Hydra. That's one well done Hydra. And now it's time just to build up armies. Major summoning, let's go. Yes, another god. Next up, we try to take on a temple pyramid. Looks like it only has a small welcoming party. Let's try. Oh, and what a horrible mistake I make. Going in with a 230 some odd units, the undead wipe them all out. They have a 2 defense bonus, meaning they absorb 2 damage right off the bat from my slaves. And my 2 priests here don't have any offensive spells really. So, they work them down to the man. Time to get revenge on those bastards, so we summon up another god. And we get a Talalik of the East, which has a bunch of water spells. Let's go! This time we get much better results. It's time to activate the pyramid's powers. Winters will now be longer, ×2, since we own 2 pyramid temples. This is really going to cripple the druid as he relies on a lot of fungus harvest from his forests. Doesn't matter whether it's summer or winter for us, we always get sacrifices. The land runs red with the sacrifices to our gods as we bring them into this realm. We're at the critical point to where we need a huge army to stare down anything the AIs have been building up this whole time since they've been quiet. Our slave armies take over more cities. With 3 armies sitting here, I am extremely comfortable. We're just going to build up an enormous army. More gods are summoned. With 39 sacrifices rolling in every turn, it's going to be just a non-stop sacrifice party and summoning of gods. The King of Rain is summoned. He can get a bunch of water elementals for us, and he has his own entourage that he brings. A very late game mechanic of the Priest King is the ability to sacrifice entire towns to improve the effect of the blessing buff on any troop that has blessing. Since all of our priests have this ability, that makes our slaves suddenly much more powerful. Right now, our slaves all just get +1 hit point and +1 morale, but look at this. Now we get +2 hit points. What makes it such a late game mechanic is that the towns are permanently sacrificed. You can't get many more sacrifices from them, so you're effectively all in. But since we pretty much destroyed everything on Blue's side of the map, this has really crippled his economy. So let's kick the shit out of Blue now. It's a big fight, but our numbers just are going to overwhelm him. That, and with our casters sitting in relative safety in the back ranks, he gets decimated. After wiping out Blue, we sacrifice his towns. Our gods take notice, and our bless effect now gives us double morale, +4 hit points, +1 armor. This is fantastic. Hey, check this out. Blue thinks it can win. I just continue to ignore him and sacrifice his towns, improving our blessing. And again. And thanks for the armor. Our slaves are now as good as troops you have to pay really good gold for, and we get them for free. They're magical slaves. Then I recruit Talahuachihalpatantika the Anarchy. It's time to end Blue. Oh yeah, he has no defense. Oh buddy, don't you know it's time to sacrifice your army? And he vainly tries to go back home to capture his hut. Do you know what time it is? It's time to die! This is music to my ears. Victory. Victory! With this, it's time to head down south and see where the other AI is. At first I think this is the Halflings, or Hobergs as this game calls them. And then I see it's the Deep Ones. And he has nothing! Where the hell is his army? What happened to you, buddy? The Deep One King can still be tough, so I kind of start buffing up my secondary army with some creatures, and he runs away. Let's get ready to rumble! The King hits pretty hard. He one-shots anything he hits, but we put him to sleep, poison him, decay him, make him lose all of his strength, pretty much just fuck him up. So here's a pleasant thing that can happen to you. I summon up 3 plumed serpents and fail to control them. There goes 200 sacrifices. What? Luckily, our army can handle them. Get over here, Green. Let's finish this. With my numbers and army composition, he just doesn't stand a chance. Bring it, Green! And his army just goes down, like the thousands of people that sacrifice themselves to summon my army. And with that, we eliminate him. That was his last commander. Yes! On top of giving me an item, the game says I've won. Alright. Well, that was short and sweet. That's what a Conquest of Elysium is definitely good for. If you just take your time a little bit in the middle of the game to build up your army, you'll find that the late game is pretty pleasant. The only army that's really hard to face down is the Demon Summoner. That one is just really hard. Well, thank you all very much for joining me on this adventure. I appreciate it. Hope you all really could see through to the game's strategy and enjoy the game's ups and downs as I experience them. And if you really like this format that I'm doing, where I take one game and finish it in one video, cutting out all the boring stuff and really showing you the vast majority of what's interesting, consider supporting me on Patreon. These projects, they take a lot of time. This one took 4 hours to record and 2 hours to edit, so your support is definitely appreciated. And I'd like to give a shout out to all my current patrons. Thank you very much. I'm including you guys in the credits.